Hi, you're watching FRCD on CAN TV. Family Resource Center on Disabilities is the Region 1 Parent Training and Information Center of Illinois. You can reach us at 312-939-3513 or email us at info@frcd.org or visit our website at www.frcd.org. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at FRCDPTI and subscribe to our YouTube page at FRCD1231. We also invite you to like us on Facebook. Family Resource Center on Disabilities is not a law firm or a legal service agency. Family Resource Center on Disabilities will not provide any type of services that may be construed as practicing law, including but not limited to giving legal advice, drafting legal documents, or representing families in any type of legal proceeding. Hi, you're watching FRCD on CAN TV, where we discuss parent advocacy, special education, and resources for families of children with disabilities. My name is Paula Wills, and today we have Zabita Pasha on our show today. Hi, Zabita.
Hi, Paula. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you for being on the show, where we'll be discussing behavior and autism. So, Zabita, could you tell us, what do we mean when we're talking about behavior in terms of autism? Like, what do we mean?
Well, let me first of all say that we are concluding the month of April, which is the Autism Awareness Month.
Very
with this
true.
session.
Thank you for bringing that
with
up.
this session. And also, I would like to introduce myself as a parent of a 17-year-old with autism, and I have been through the trenches, and the journey is a wonderful journey, but the struggle is real. The struggle is real. So for that to be said, when I say behavior back in the day, and we still have behavior, but on a different caliber, on a different level. Back in the day when my daughter have those tantrums and have those spikes of non-compliance, and a lot of it was communication. She couldn't communicate. So her communication was the behavior to get our attention. In previous shows, we talked about behavior,
right,
and we talked about the function of the behavior. So I'm going to focus today in our show on the autism and the behavior, and specifically for what it concerns my daughter.
Absolutely.
Because, and again, when you know one person with autism, you only know one.
Absolutely.
It's not a cookie cutter model. It's not one size fits all. So when I will talk, it's not a general statement, but I will kind of make it a little bit general based on my personal and professional experience. So when I say behavior is something that is hindering the child to be functional, when it comes to autism, aside of the school setting, it is hindering her to socialize, to be accepted with non-disabled peer. So what are those behaviors? Now are the tics. They are a huge hindrance. She's aware of it. She's cognizant about it, and she knows that she needs to do something, but she does not have the tools for alternative to replace those tics. And the tics come in from anxiety.
Okay.
I am in a non-disabled peer arena, for example, and they are talking above my head. I don't know how to respond. I don't know how to be included in those social dynamics. So the anxiety sits in and the tics start. We are giving her other alternative to where she says, "Excuse me, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you repeat?" But those tools are advocacy skills, and that's another question that we can attack.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up the self-advocacy part. So from what I'm understanding is like the tics are in response to her inability to join in on a conversation or understand. So there will probably be more tics when it really the conversation becomes more difficult. More
in depth in those profound concepts where she is not grasping. What does it mean? I'm going to give you an example. Her peer, she is in a social event where non-disabled peer from her high schools, they went to a Wolves game.
Okay.
And I was getting those texts in the evening when they attended that game, and they said she's uncomfortable, she is not responding, she didn't want to have the snack with the peers, she did not hold the banner up like in the past. She held the banner because it was basketball of her interest. She's not familiar with hockey. She does not know the layout of the land. So she kind of, there was a shutdown moment.
Okay.
Where they were explaining to her, peers her age, they don't have that patience. Even though
Right.
she is paired with a nice group, I call them leaders in those groups, but they don't have that ability and also the patience to kind of like explain it, break it down. The other point with our child is her visual learning style. It has to be laid out visually for her. So that homework was
Okay.
not done, and I can put it on me. I was a little busy and I could not really find the time to break it down in visuals. This is the game, this is that, this is this. Again, my interest is not into the sports intensively.
Right.
And I don't know even the game rules, so I should have Googled it, but she was not prepared. So her tics got higher. And I received a text from her teacher saying she's uncomfortable for some reason. Last year with the Bulls game, basketball, because she likes it. She does Special Olympics with basketball, so she knows a little bit about it. She was okay. She held the banner. She was fine. She was cheering. She was laughing.
Yeah, 'cause she could understand the game.
Now the Wolves game, it was a fiasco.
Um,
So for that to be said, when we have a person under the autism spectrum, depending on their learning style and how they process the information, we have to give them those tools and help them to enjoy the activities. The behavior when she was younger was tantrums, was a lot of resilience because she did not understand the expectations. Now it's a little bit different. They don't look like tantrums, but they are tics.
so could you give us kind of a definition of what a tic could look like?
A tic can be clearing her throat over and over,
Okay.
repeating the word over and over.
Okay.
Like when you say, end your sentence with that's right, and then she will go, that's right. And she gets into that mode of echolalia/tic.
Okay.
It is very annoying to non-disabled peers, especially youth, because they don't have the patience, first of all, to understand, and they get on her, and it become a little bit of an emotional distress for her. Anxiety sits in, and they go into a higher mode. Those tics, they get higher and higher and higher.
As the anxiety grows,
Right.
there's more and more.
So
of
the
tics.
alternative now is to remove, when you feel you are anxious, first of all, identify anxiety is a doozy. How do you define anxiety? Okay, when you don't understand, when you are holding your hands. We started with the physical gesture of anxiety. When you are holding your hands and you are switching your hands or kind of rocking or
Yeah,
doing something.
bouncing in your chair.
Right, those are the physical symptoms. And then we switch her to the feeling, which is very, very hard. It's super hard to switch it to the emotional feeling. What does it look like? And I cannot really relay it to her because it's different from one person to the other. Sometimes, people who are anxious, they laugh a lot. How I'm going to explain to her, this is the anxiety for me, for example, when I laugh a lot. So it was very difficult, but we are now helping her to identify by not understanding. For example, if you're not understanding, maybe anxiety will come. Speak up, say, please help me. As you may know, she is working and she is telling her coworkers, can you please help me with a task sheet?
So when she starts to self-advocate for herself, when she starts to ask for help, is it very noticeable that the amount of tics she has declines? And how did you get her to the point where she starts noticing that, okay, I'm anxious, let me ask for help, versus letting the tics
Set in.
Yeah.
Very good question. We kind of do the traditional way of nipping it in the bud by letting her ask, help me with a visual. I function as a visual person and grasp it visually. Can you text it to me or email it to me?
Okay.
Kindly. So we are working and navigating with her. She's not very assertive. We don't forget that she's a 17-year-old, she's a teenager. So that's a typical thing that we are trying sometimes to let her figure out things on her own. Like her computer wasn't working at school and she told me it's not working, in frustration, and I can see the tics are going to escalate. So I gave the teacher the heads up. Okay, she's frustrated, the computer isn't working. She says, true, but I was telling her, put in a note, send an email to me so I can forward it to the people. They are teaching her ways to advocate, even though the teacher had already contacted the assistive technology department and she's working from her end, but she wants her to also be responsible and advocate for herself. So she said, I'm going to give her a 24-hour, the computer is down, and see what's going to happen. She was upset and she was telling her, I need my computer. Well, did you do the email? Like I said, I forgot. So we were kind of navigating that way. So we kind of figure out there has to be a tool for her, like a text, schedule, calendar, for example. What are the things that will help me to get through the day?
So you bring up an interesting point about being a student, like text messaging. So would that be part of her assistive technology?
Yes. For right now, she's a teenager, and it is very appropriate and it is peer accepted. Because she has the Dynavox for augmentative communication device.
Right.
And they upgraded to another tool that is not looking like a Dynavox, but it is the function of that augmentative communication device. It has a component of email. But I said, you know what? She is a teenager. The phone will be looking more appropriate than a big device. More inclusive, you got it. And it will help her and aid her. And there are many free apps that we can use and help our youth to kind of be functional and reaching, as much as possible of independence. So text is one of the things that I use with her. Text me when you are anxious and tell me what is wrong. And she is able to put it in a couple of words sometimes,
Right.
It's hard to understand. Like she was under a lot of distress with the wolf game. And I said, give her the phone and let her text me. And she says, I need help. I don't understand the game. I don't understand the game. Now, you need help with what? She did not tell me I need help. Somebody explain to me the game.
Could it be that she didn't know what she needed help with?
Right.
Because I think about when I was in high school, long time ago, we would go to football games and I did not get it. And I just accepted the fact that I'm not going to understand it. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to eat popcorn, and I'm just not going to understand this game. So how, I understand that it's frustrating for her, because, it was frustrating for me, but, I think about it as, like, it takes a lot to explain football if you don't know the game. So I would imagine trying to explain
the wolf game at that time, why they have to watch the game and explain to her. Her peers kind of, quote unquote, refuse to do that, and I give them all the right. They want to watch the game. They need to watch the game.
So, how do you get her to the point to accept the fact that at this point I'm not gonna? Because that's a lot of explanation.
Oh, great question. The coping skills are not there.
Okay.
There are maladaptive skills within the autism that need to be worked on constantly.
Okay.
And that's, again, like I said earlier, it's a journey and the struggle is real. You're tackling many fronts. So it is a continuum of work on different fronts. Definitely the coping skills are not there. In the same time, we are looking at a set of alternative to replace the tics, for example. What are the things that we can give you to replace the tics? Prepping and being prepared is one of the most successful tools that we found out and we figure out at an early age. They still are working because that's just the way she is. Each one of us are different, and the visual aids can be pictures. Now we're using text, we're using email. She's not on social media yet. You can call me the traditional mom, and I have my rationale why, and it's not safe at this point for her to be on social media, but the text is very effective. Email, to some extent, voicemails.
Yeah, and we're talking about, like, a 17-year-old soon-to-be young adult.
Yes.
So approaching transitioning. I know that's scary.
It is.
Out of high school. So, yeah, you're looking at assistive technology tools, as you mentioned,
Yes, the visual.
that offer visual aids such as like the smartphone, laptop, tablet.
Any eye conquer, that's how I define it, because I'm not going to promote iPad versus an
I'm
Android.
sorry, you're right.
No,
A
I'm
tablet.
not. Anything that aid her early before all of this, we had the picture. The 2x4 picture, and honestly, when she was a baby, I used to wear a necklace with a bunch of pictures, and she has her PECS book. It used to travel with us. Like, okay, do you want this? What about this? I am working for, let's say we are attending a social event and we need like a couple of minutes.
So you bring up an excellent point. Like, you didn't just get her to this point yesterday.
No.
You started working with your daughter when she was a baby.
Yes, and early intervention is very, very important. Parent, if you are watching or going to see this show, if you see something that is not okay with your child, check it out. And early intervention had brought a lot of support to my family in terms of our baby and her functionality. Those services I will never ever forget. And transitioning to early childhood was another set of transition, as we are going now to the transition to the adulthood and to the real world. It is rewarding to have the set of services that they need at an early age. The earlier we start, the better. We started with the visual support, the picture, at a very, very early age when she was a baby.
So how did you know it was the visual? Was it strictly, you guys, what were some of the things you tried? Was it always, you just knew right away it was the picture?
We knew it right away, the picture. Let's say she liked a specific juice. Now we put in the apple juice and then you put the grape juice, for example. She liked grape juice. So I'm saying juice, she's still crying, and she was nonverbal, no words, she's just screaming, hollering. And I'm kind of, you want juice, and she's just crying and crying. When I start doing the two choice, do you want apple or do you want grape? And then she's grabbing the grape from my hand. And then I start putting it up and I'm pointing at that time.
I'm sorry to cut you off. It looks like we have a caller. Caller, do you have a question or a comment?
A quick comment, and good evening, ladies. How you doing?
Good evening.
Yes, I love the shows. I always like to listen. I'm reading, and I had to drop the book that I was reading, listening to you. I remember, first let me commend you. I think you're a heck of a good mother, and I mean truly a heck of a good mother. Good trainer also. Listen, I remember at the beginning, like in the early 90s, late 80s, doctors it was a hard thing to detect autism. And the doctors, and then they started trying to send them to the psychiatrist and so on. But it was a process. I mean, it has truly been a process. A good partner of mine, he has a child, a little older, about 19, 20, and he's really been working with his son. But again, it's been a process of learning, dealing with them, get the right medication. And the most important thing, I was listening to what you said earlier, how people could be so cruel, and especially their peers at school, people looking and laughing, and it makes them feel bad. It really makes people feel bad. People need to learn to respect each other and not laugh, but if anything, try to help, try to understand it. I remember with people with tics used to try to say something, give a word, and it would take them off of that tic. And things of that nature. But listen, I want to really commend this woman here. I think you're a heck of a good parent. Truly a heck of a good parent. I'm much older, and I don't tweak and text and all that mess, and she's able to do that. I commend you so much. So I just wanted to make sure to let you know you're doing right. I hope there's other people listening to this show that also have problems and try to learn from you. So let me get out there and let someone else speak. And I want to thank you so much for taking the call. let me get off the air so I can hear your response. And again, thanks for taking the call.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much for your comment and compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Zabita, thank you so much for sharing the journey that you have, you and your daughter have gone through to get to this point.
Well, advocacy is not only making a change for ourselves, it's try to help the betterment for others by making sure that we put ourselves out there. And the personal story is all the time powerful. I'm not saying my daughter may look like other people's children, but through this personal story, people may hear some tips or may get some information that be beneficial to them. Again, help yourself by educating yourself. And the caller who just said these kind words, we thank you. Back in the 90s, it was even tougher. Detecting autism at that time was really, really hard. And we commend you to step out there and make sure that there was no shame in having, this diagnosis and moving on, with the motions, because society does not stop. The time does not stop.
And don't forget the ignorance surrounding autism. I mean, probably back in the early 90s, a lot of people didn't even know what autism was.
Yep.
So probably in like the last 10, 15 years, it's become a household term. I mean, I think just a couple of years ago, Sesame Street introduced a character with autism. So it's been a slow process as far as
the awareness.
The awareness around autism.
And changing the mentality of the society is not our job,
No.
but the awareness is our job. To make people aware that there is a term that means autism. It will look like for my child, it will look like this for the other child or the other person and so forth. That's what we need to do, because we're learning as this child's parent that we can't change nothing but our attitude toward things. The more we navigate positively, things may turn for the positive for our kids with autism or our population with autism. I don't know what will take, to figure out what is the cause and what is the cure, but at least we have to navigate and finding the tools to help them, because autism is not a disease, it's a condition.
Right.
It is a condition to make the person function differently. We all have differences in our life, in our personalities, in the way we handle ourselves and do things. But they have it on a higher scale in different areas. And the most areas that are impacted with my daughter is the communication and socialization. We're working so hard so she can be having that full potential in inclusion. At the end of the day, we have the vision. And we are teaching her the word vision and goal setting, that she belonged to the word, not the word belonged to her. Okay. That is so important for her to understand this. You are belonging to the word, not the word belong to you. You have to work and you have to earn and you have to do. You may need help. We all need help. But she's getting there. It's a process. And process, when I kind of define it, means takes time. And so God help us. And again, the journey is joyful, but the struggle is real in the same time.
No, absolutely. And as I said, also, again, the world tolerance-wise, I feel that there's a lot more tolerance around.
Yes.
Not just autism, but with all disabilities, although we have a long way to go.
You got that right.
But I just wanted to ask one last question, and again, it's like, what would you like to see? I guess again, what would you like to see as far as your daughter, ideally, when she does transition on in terms of self-advocacy?
Well, in a nutshell, because they're telling us we have to wrap it up. In a nutshell, we are looking and praying and visioning her independence across the board. Okay. She is a prompt dependent. She needs people to prompt her and redirect her. Okay. The ability for certain skills is there, but she will wait for you. For example, okay, you have to fold your clothes after you wash them. So she put this basket, for example, and she just look at it. And I was like, really? So I withdraw myself, remove myself physically out of the room, and I said, you know what to do. I give her that prompt, but I don't tell her fold the clothes. You know what to do. So those are the things that I am looking for as she is getting older.
Okay.
Life skills are so important for us at this stage, and her socialization. Again, belonging to the word, you don't get the word belonging to you, because you have to go out there and do what you need to do. So these are the things that we are looking for, and again, so God help us.
Well, thank you so much, Sabita.
You are
We
welcome.
are actually over time, but thank you for joining us, and you have a wonderful week.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for watching.